Yamaha's mt09. A friend of mine just purchased one a couple months ago. I went to the dealership, help him look and pick out, and give him some ideas, And he purchased this the all black. I think it was a Raven model mt09, and so he had it. He had it at home, and he bought some parts and stuff. I'm gonna talk about here. We put them on the other day in my garage in the heat, and it made a big difference to the bike. It's a lot better visually. They're not really any performance parts, but so yeah. First on the bike itself, the mt09 is it's not particularly my style of bike. I'm like a sport bike guy. Mainly my experiences was on 1998 Kawasaki ZX9R. I really like that bike. I put around 6,500 miles on that bike. Pretty hard riding. It was all in one season, one and a half seasons maybe. Anyway, this mt09, like I said, it's not really my style. It's a Japanese standard type style. It's a sit-up bike, but I like it though. Actually, all the companies have done a really good job with the naked standard type bikes compared to back in maybe the mid 2000s. I think I rode a Kawasaki Z1000 that was pretty substandard, and most of the other bikes in that category of the naked standards were. It's kind of weird that the wheelbase didn't seem right. The seating position seemed like you were falling off over the front of the bike, and that some of the gauges and shit seemed cheap. That Kawasaki back then that I rode, the Z1000, was scary. The suspension was not good. I didn't like that bike. Had a lot of weird tweaky wobbles. Of course, it wasn't mine. I didn't have any chance to work on the suspension or anything. So, but the mt09 was really nice. The companies have really come up, made a lot of improvements. It feels right. It feels like the same length, the right length. There's no speed wobble. It shifts really nice. The power is outstanding. I really like that 65 pounds of torque throughout the whole real broad torque curve. It has about as much torque as my ZX9R, except it's not peaky. It starts right at the 22 or I think 2,500 or 2,000 range and just carries it right across. It's awesome. The sport bikes seem to be a little lacking in the bottom end, at least in my era of riding them. They would be a little weak. This thing though, the Yamaha, you just let off the clutch, roll out. Its power's always there. It's really easy to ride, do like slow speed maneuvers with. Great bike for around town, around the city. I don't have any problems with the motor or the transmission. Seemed really good. Things I don't care for about it were I don't like the display, the digital readout, and then the tack. It just basically sucks. It's almost like it's not even usable. You can't see. It's out of your line of sight. You can't see it. I'm a sucker for old style analog gauges, where if you're in your riding crouch, you can really see the sweep of the analog, and you know, like usually they're set up vertical where your power is. Like your tack. When it's vertical, you're in your power band, so you can just kind of, your mind registers it. I don't like trying to shift with a like a rev limiter or something like that. That's stupid to me. You just overrun your stuff. The suspension on the mt09 seems good, pretty adjustable for the average guy. To me, I think it could be upgraded with a little more higher end stuff. I don't like the rear shock and the rear spring setup. I've never been a fan of the little staircase turn and it goes up. I like the dual jam nut, fully threaded, infinitely adjustable style stuff. It's of course probably higher end, but what else on the mt09? The throttle, to me, this might be picky because I'm not really used to is it throttle by wire or whatever, and the fuel injection stuff. It just seems too easy. like almost like if you hit a bump, it'd be too easy to zing it and like do a double bunny hop or something. Uh, I would prefer like 25% more, maybe spring tension or drag on the throttle, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. So you, during any road conditions, you'd have a little bit more resistance to any type of too much power add on. These are all pretty nitpicky points though for a bike in its class of basically a street rider. Uh, okay, what else was there? The brakes are really good on it. I like the brakes. Uh, it rode nice. I mean, the position isn't for me. Like once you hit about 70, 75, there's too much wind. I don't like the wind because it's blasting your chest so hard that it's pulling on your hands and you have trouble using the controls. That's where the crotch rocket and sport bikes come in handy, because you're in like a forward horse riding position, and you're supporting yourself with your legs, and there's no tension on your forearms and hands, and they sit into the tank, and you can operate the controls, the throttle and the clutch, with no tension on your hands. When you're sitting up on a sit up and the wind's hitting you, you have to grip, so it makes it harder and more dangerous to either counter steer or use your clutches or your finger toggles and stuff. That was what I noticed jumping on that bike. The last bike I rode before this mt09 was, I think, last summer. I rode a ZX14R of a different friend of mine's. Man, what a flagship. If I ever buy another bike, it's going to be the ZX14R. Riding that thing made me completely appreciate aerodynamics, and like the ZX14 is unmatched, man. The wind is gone for a sport bike. It's comfortable, perfect. The motor is so smooth. There's so much torque. It's a fucking beautiful bike. But we're looking at the mt09 here. Everything about the mt09 that I don't like is perfectly countered by the ZX14 likes. The wind, the position, the control, hands, all this stuff. It's a little bit heavier, obviously. You could feel a little bit more weight in the ZX, but the mt09 is a nice bike. I don't mind it. I think it's a good step up. The other things I don't like about it aesthetically, kind of a different section here. Aesthetically, whatever the hell whoever designed that thing on the swing arm that comes out and puts a fender on it where they put the license plate, that guy needs to have his ass kicked, because that sucks. The only thing I can think of is maybe they didn't want to clutter the tail underneath the tail, so they designed this thing that you just unplug and you unbolt it off the axle and it's gone. That might be what they did in that case. At least you're forward thinking, but you got to spend $150 or something on a kit to eliminate that crap, because it just looks horrible. And the thing weighs probably 5 pounds, and it's all unsprung weight beyond the axle center line, rearward of the suspension. So that's just a shit design. And I'm assuming, I'll give them credit, that they assume people are just going to dump that hideous looking crap, which we did. We replaced that with I believe it's a TST Industries fender eliminator kit, and it has the kit to mount your license plate up under the bike. All the stuff he all used was TST Industries and Rizoma, I believe. Pardon my stuffy sinuses here. So he used the TST fender eliminator and got rid of that stupid thing, and he got a TST LED tail light, which was real neat piece. It's programmable. I liked it a lot. It went in, and the TST, props to TST for their videos. Like they show you basically step by step on what to do. There was nothing missing. They also, allow you as options to buy, like the little relay, the different relay for LED that eliminates having to cut in and splice the resistors and that crap in your wiring harness. Makes it all plug and play. That all worked great. We didn't really mess with the programming on the TSD taillight, but he got the smoked version anyway. But the programming would allow you to have like different functions when you hit the brake or the signals. I think what this one came standard as was like a little burst flash for the brake. You touch the brake and it's like bam, 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 and then it stays on. And then I followed him home, and that worked really well. It caught your attention quick, and you were like, wow, that dude's doing something. You notice it. So that's a great design for the TST. The plate, the license plate holder, and the little closeout blocks and all that stuff, if you're into that, or if you need that, they worked great. Everything was good with the TST Industries. I would definitely use them again. I would tell anybody to use them. Now the other stuff he got was the Rizoma stuff. I think it's an Italian company. He got I think it's a Rizoma little tiny windshield thing. I don't know why the bike doesn't come with one on there. It's obviously set up with just four Allen heads to. They know somebody's going to put something there, whether they leave it up to you to put a different windshield on or whatever. I think the bike should come with a small one like that because it looks so much better. It really, it gets away that bumblebee transformer look with like, I don't know, angled down weird two little headlight things. I'm trying to describe it with my hands. It's probably kind of stupid, but that windshield makes the bike look a lot better. And then we put on the Rizoma little, really small LED front turn indicators. Got rid of those big orange pumpkins. The TST integrated tail light got rid of the back ones. But these little guys, a little bit, you got to mess with the body work and get into the wiring kind of, but it's pretty simple. There's videos out there for that too. I didn't care for the little male to female vertical little friggin' penis looking metal snap together connections. They're kind of hard to use, but I mean it worked. It was just a pain in the ass, especially when your fingers are tired. Using needle nose pliers helped. I think that could have been designed a little better, and it was a little bit of a pain in the ass. You got to thread all these parts down the wire and then put it through like the radiator side panel and orient them and then tighten a jam nut on the inside, and you have to have the indicator. You look at it from the front and make sure it's up or down, and it's basically you just have to snug it in pretty tight and then turn it by hand carefully, and then you mount it on the bike and you got to keep eyeing it and you got to hold it and turn it. It feels like it might break, but it came out okay. And I was looking at some guy driving a motorcycle like an idiot out there, and they're real bright. They work good. You can see them from the side. You can see them obviously from the front. They're real bright. They look good. They were clear and they flash yellow. They worked real good with that relay. Went in there. There was no hyper flash or difference. We tested all the lighting, so the Rizoma stuff was pretty good. He ended up buying the plug whip ends, the things I said I didn't like. That made it plug and play into the normal signal light plug. You didn't have to cut and splice in and all this jazz. So all that stuff's available. It pays to take your time and spend the money, the extra maybe $100 or whatever, to get all this little componentry to make the job easier, and you don't have to cut and splice your wiring. So anyway, overview. He put the Rizoma signals on the windshield, the TST tail light, integrated tail light, got rid of that fender back thing, made the bike look a hell of a lot better. I'd pay another $1,000 for the bike to look like that from the factory if I was into buying one of those. So mt09 is, gives if you're a biker looking at my channel with my 19 now subscribers, I'm really moving up in the YouTube world with all you people listening to what I have to say. It's a decent bike. If you like sit-ups, I'd go for that. It seems pretty good. Like I said, not my style. I like to be able to lean down and get out of the wind, but I definitely ride it around town a lot, and it looks a lot better once you decide to spend a little cash and upgrade some stuff. Thanks for listening. Later.